quite confident. Like, just hope we don't low roll the flips in the matchups and.
Look at
yeah,
this
we don't
idiot.
brick. I disagree because like in. Brought the best 7 decks that we believe in the current meta are, and we expected certain lineups, and we believe those. Like, if opponent bans our Ezreal decks, we have leftover TLC, which we are very happy with. If they ban both Zoe and Teemo, we have Azir and the TLC left, which is even better. So like we just brought we were thinking between Zoe Diana and Zoe Vi, and we just came to conclusion, why not bring both? If they ban Zoe, we are fine. We have 2 good Ezreal decks and potentially TLC or Azir. So like we just felt confident with those lineups because we know all the matchups, tested everything. I played a lot of ladder. I played all of those decks. So
I'm not sure if we're gonna see a Trundleless Inner Control ban for Belgium. Oh, okay, never mind. Shut up, Miguel. Okay, because they have.
I was really surprised by this ban.
They do have other decks
So
that
here,
struggle with it. So we see.
like, we were convinced they just gonna go with the same strategy as the first week, where they just ban. They should be banning Teemo. Like, because if you look at this matchups, there is only one bad matchup for Teemo, which is Draven S. All of those are auto wins for the Teemo. And there is no other deck that has pretty much auto win in for us. So yeah, they should like we can't really play the Trundle because like apparently it's betting too deep. Team wouldn't let me play it. It's like Trundle, but other matchups would be okay. We wouldn't I wouldn't be worried about the Shen J4 because it depends how many rallies they run and denies. But definitely this is the, Shen J4 I played a lot into TLC, and I've beaten a lot of TLC with the Shen J4, so I believe the Shen J4 is actually favorite. So I'm not sure why they banned Trundle here, I don't know, maybe mistype, maybe misclick, I don't know. Teemo beats Jervan Shen easily, easy.
Honestly, what you would expect from most bans, the best 2 decks are out of the equation. We don't have to cast Azir Aurelia, nor
yeah, so about
Watcher.
the deep beating TLC. So as a TLC player, I've never lost to deep. I literally never lost to deep. I don't understand how people lose to deep with TLC. And I would be happy to play into deep with TLC. So chat, I'm gonna explain how to play TLC against deep. Against deep, you don't attack with Watcher until they play Nautilus. That's it. You just wait, you just pass. And they're gonna run out of the cards if they don't play Nautilus, and they don't have enough threats to kill you. You just wait. You preserve your Trundles, you use your Trundles efficiently, and you just pass. And you wait with the Watcher until they play out. They play out, you go Watcher. Easy. Then you die to Maokai. No, you don't. Because the second they play Maokai, you play Watcher, and then they don't have time to play Nautilus. Because you can't play Maokai and Nautilus at the same turn.
Which is gonna be...
I think any deck that has target in it, you can say it's essentially...
So here we picked a best... we were so sure they're gonna go with S-Draven. Because, the problem is all of their deck suck against Teemo and Dash LeBlanc. So basically we were almost always opening with one of those decks in this case, right? And I'm like, yeah, they have to open with Draven S and get this win out of the way. So I was like, okay, we're gonna yoink the win from the Draven S with just Zoe Vi. And after them saying that we don't plan that they thought we are just debating with the Zoe and we don't want to play the deck, I was like, yeah, this is they're gonna open with Draven S 100%, and they didn't. I don't know.
Invoke deck with X. You just fill in the blanks with whatever other champion it has there. But yeah, Zoe, Diana used to be called Aphelio's Waiting Room. It was popularized by players like Avira and Pepsi-Cola, and it was kind of a deck that maybe didn't have the right chance, the strongest champions. It was missing Aphelios. Aphelios came in, made the deck a little bit better, but it was still better paired with Bilgewater. And then Aphelios came out for obvious reasons, and now it's back to Zoe Diana once again.
Man, they are really good at
matchup for deep to shine.
They're really good at drawing one of Maokai. Literally all the games against us, they drew their one of Maokai every game.
Really, because especially with that opening hand with double blue Sentinel, I don't think that's a card that Belgium is going to care about in the slightest. It doesn't push damage fast enough, and they're just probably not going to interact with it. As we see these some dredges go down in turn 1, and he's just like, damn, trash! He just attacks, try to trade.
Yeah, so here there is a first decision. If do we play Diana next turn or we don't. And the decision is like we have a Pale, so we can actually kill the Sea Scarab in this matchup, which is kind of pain in the ass if you don't get Equinox early. So we decided to keep Diana and just go with that play later on to potentially kill the Sea Scarab instead. And next turn just slam the this bad boy.
All right, Deathbringer right there. We do see the Lure of the Deaths in Belgium's hand. They could opt to go for that turn 3.
That's why we
which
like
makes,
we're thinking about
it
blocking.
It makes their curve fine
Why
on
would you
turn
keep the
5,
2-drop in
as
opening?
that will be their attack turn as well. There's a
Because this 2-drop ramps you into the Great Beyond or Phoenix. Or potentially Scorch. This is a win con.
And
Also, you need a pressure.
A 1-of copy in the deck.
Yes,
Like
could
Be a
basically,
3-of copy in the deck.
okay, hold on. We are attacking on turn 2, and like we have 1 into 2, we have 4 damage. You need to chip every damage you can. If opponent doesn't have the Dredger on the turn 1, they have basically no blockers unless they play as Sea Scarab on turn 2, and they don't want to block with Sea Scarab in this matchup. Yeah? So we are very happy to push for 4 damage in this match.
Important to note for anyone that maybe hasn't been too up to date with the current meta. Deep has changed a lot from what it used to be when it first came out with Rising Tides. It used to be kind of a control deck that in the late game obviously had a very interesting, very fun, very strong win condition. In this case now it's become more of a combo deck, trying to go deep very fast and trying to flood the board very quickly.
So
And
this
has
is,
a lot more
I think this is
interaction, cheap interaction
questionable.
with things like Bones.
Like this play, what do you guys like here watching the Belgium hand? Isn't this pass this turn? Like so for the first question, do you block here? I don't think so. So what if you just pass? You play the Lure of the Deeps into Sea Scarab next turn. Turn 4 you play Maokai, and turn 5 you can play the like if you don't want like there is a chance you don't want to play Maokai turn 4. So you could play turn 4 Maokai into the Dredger instead. And you'd rather have a Sea Scarab than the Dredger on here. Yeah, but you want to play a Scarab next turn, right? Unless they top deck Jal Hunters.
Is also very strong, but Maokai was a sacrifice. Maokai was a champion that kind of hasn't really found its spot in the game. And even in deep, it's a champion that obviously has a 1-of copy. It's great to have as kind of an alternate win condition against control decks, but overall, maybe too expensive. And in this current meta, with Flock, with 4 health, maybe just isn't enough for a 4-mana champion.
You're gonna play the Sea Scarab immediately. Not even gonna play any mind games with the initiative system here, as they are just gonna be dropping this immediately after playing their burst speed spells. Like, hey, we got a Sea Scarab, and we're not afraid to show it. Right now, they don't really have a good attack anyways because of these blue Sentinels. So Belgium is definitely going to just be holding back,
Yeah,
and
so
that's not
next
something
turn,
that they're
okay.
sad about really. Because
So next turn we set up the you don't play 1-drop because you set up the 1-drop into Diana into Pale. That's pretty obvious for most probably.
they're just buying
That's
time here.
Scarab.
Like the longer this match goes, the better it's going to be for their game plan, as they will be going deep eventually. And once that happens, all these different fish will get huge and potentially overwhelm the Targan strategy. Because I don't know how Targan, like Hush is not really as
Like,
impactful.
see,
I mean,
here.
it does.
Like, see, this is the spot. Like, if they kept, like, if they didn't play Dredger, yeah, here, like, you'd rather play the one of those cards, right? Like, probably this. So next time you could do Maokai into Dredger if you actually preserved if you didn't play it early. And since you didn't block anyway, what's the point of playing it early?
Provide some value, but not really nearly as much as you would want. And I think, they have to start invoking into some of the strong stuff like Supernova. And even then, they can get outpaced. This Maokai is also really threatening. Down goes Diana, though. There is a Pill Cascade, but that's not enough to get rid of this Maokai. I guess they will be removing the Scarab instead.
Yeah, and the Scarab is, of course, a very important card because it is the engine for going deep very quickly. Right now, Belgium's going to not really... I mean, they have the Jettison, of course, but they're not going to go deep too much faster. They used to Drag, which is obviously great, but going to be a little bit off of going deep anytime soon. At least turns, 6, for example, which would be ideal.
Oh, also, in this matchup, like, I wanted to keep my Atro in hand, but team didn't let me. If we had slightly better hand... If I had, like, Star Shaping hand and Atro, I would have kept above, I think. I would just mute them and just keep buff. Like, Atro is so important. Like, Atro is how you win this matchup.
You can go down for... I guess they're really afraid of the late game. Like, it makes sense. Like, an elusive into Atrocity can become devastating. So they're trying to do their best to prevent that. But I do think Maokai is a legitimate win condition here. But now it's vulnerable to a Serpent. Like, it's definitely way easier to remove. Let's see if we see the Devourer go down here. Because they could be holding on to remove something else, but I guess removing Diana is definitely just
It has to be. With Maokai now, ooh, looks like it's not going to be. It's going to be the beast below instead. With Maokai at 2, I guess, yeah, you have the sapling to try and challenge the Diana anyway. And because Picasso was used, like I mentioned last turn, this might be the maybe less risky way of taking this down.
So here, there is a consideration. If I pass, opponent obviously pass back in the spot. They don't have to attack with this. It wouldn't be too bad for them. So if they attack in and like they don't attack into the 2-3s, then star shaping doesn't make sense, right? And we could go for star shaping in this spot. Like if I play star shaping now, they will not attack into the 2-3s because they will be afraid of overwhelm next turn. So in this spot, we figured that the best way is just to go for like snake to kill open, like play this and open attack into Maokai, just kill Maokai off, so we can just slow the game down and we don't have to rush them. Like basically this the drop from the Fangs is so crucial because it will dictate entire game. If we get Serpent, we can play slow. If we don't get the Serpent, yeah, we have to go fast with this hand.
I guess they don't value Maokai as much as a win condition, more so than just the tossing engine. As we do see the Fangs, there's no Serpent though. And by playing this Fangs, it also tells Belgium that there's no Pale Cascade, which means this Diana is going down. They go for the Moon Glow, right? No, they went for Trickster. Never mind.
Trickster instead, which will do a great job, of course, of blocking the Abyssal Eye
So
pre-seed.
in this matchup, you don't develop your... If you don't have to, you don't go for the elusive. Because you have to be worried. Like you can't really opponent let Equinox this. You have to keep this for the moment the opponent plays big elusive.
Found by the Invoke.
Ultraman wearing a massive hat to contain his massive brain with the colors of his country's flag right there.
We don't
really
care
do
about
like
this
that attire,
dying.
as we see him challenging.
So here, do you block? We didn't get Serpent, so this play determines our next turn. Since we didn't get Serpent, we have to open attack next turn, which serves as a, like, this way we can push 4 damage, unless they have a Valfeast, which would allow us to put opponent at 12. And then we can develop a Weasel afterwards, and then it would allow us to, like, on the defense turn, we're gonna play Star Shaping, try to go for Invoke. We want to keep the Star Shaping information hidden as long as we can to force opponent into blocking this. Like, we want to invoke once we know that one of those dies, basically. So we have information like, oh, Shihu is so sad. I don't know what's happening to Shihu, but he's disgusted. I guess that we did low roll and we didn't get Serpent. Yeah, so basically we're hiding the... We're hiding the Star Shaping formation, and next time we open attack, because we know opponent doesn't want to block with Maokai, so they have only one blocker, which allows us to push for damage.
The Fangs instead of Diana.
Like I mentioned before, over time, not just in the inclusion of the champion in the deck, but kind of the how much you try and save it or try and get value from it has definitely changed as well.
Very important to know that Poland did not decide to block with their blue Sentinels. They want to preserve them for a ramp, perhaps to ramp into turn 8 or 9 mana instead of ramping into 7. They don't really value that as of now, as they just attack with everything. And will we see a block from? I mean, they've been blocking it with Maokai, but I think if they just block with Maokai, they're just like we don't care about Maokai. We never did. But I would be surprised, man, because I think you can, especially now that you drew Lifesteal as well. Like, this is a legitimate win condition. Like, it really is.
Yeah, with the Devil Wonder draw and the fact you can play now Devil Wonder into something like a Jaw Hunter, for example, and maybe save your sea monsters for, once you go deep, and maybe if you find Nautilus on the next turn with Lure of the Depths, it means that the Abyssal Eye would be 0, for example. So I don't think you want to commit to playing any sea monsters right now, and especially when you have the perfect.
Why suck Diana there?
Like you can see there's quite a bit of discussion
Opponent
going on here,
choose
but
to
they
block.
are going to go with the Jaw Hunters, getting the double toss with Maokai, and then going to be dropping. Ooh, that's a big pull. That is a very, very, very
They
big
kind of
pull.
high roll
Hush
that
can deny an
one.
attack from that, but it won't. I mean, yeah, it can also stop it on the open attack as well, because it can
Yeah,
do away
so
the
the
ability.
problem-
So Hush is a good answer to that.
So the problem is next turn we would be 2 mana inefficient by just playing Weasel because of our top deck. So we have to go for this line now. What happens if they block Sentinels there? Then we can play slower. Like then we are fine because they lose Maokai. They can't go deep that fast.
And there it is, the Great Beyond.
If the Immortal's Fire is picked, which I don't think it will be, just for the fact that you have A, Abyssal Eye that can block it, and B, it is one of the high-cost invoking units that does die to Devour, and Devour is an obliterated effect, so the Phoenix, all the text you see there, erased, completely erased there, and it's as if it didn't have anything. And yeah, we see it there, the Great Beyond played, or picked instead, and the Immortal Fire in this match was just way too risky, too many ways to counter it very cleanly for deep.
That Hush could be used offensively. It could be used offensively to deny an elusive blocker and thus allow them to set up this atrocity. Like, Belgium is in trouble here. Belgium is in trouble.
That lifesteal is a bit annoying.
Because this Great Beyond, if they are unable to stop it, like this atrocity can just prove to be, too much, actually.
Why didn't I attack with 3-2
I
elusive?
don't see how...
Lifesteal to prevent us ramp. Because if we get a 9 mana next turn, we can ramp him to the Great Beyond.
Not really been, a very strong champion in the game. Even with Nightfall, it's always, it's a good champion, of course, in certain decks, but not that spicy. But like you mentioned before, this is kind of more just an invoke deck with Atrocity. The champions, Zoe, not super consequential in this deck really ever. It's just the fact that there isn't a better champion to replace her with, and she is very versatile in that regard. But yeah, same with Diana. I mean, she's been in the early game to control the board a little bit, but it all comes down to really just the Great Beyond and Atrocity in most games.
They're going aggressive. I like this.
Maokai levels up as well.
Maokai leveled up, yeah.
It might be too late though. I mean, this is a clock ticking, but
that's the difference between Maokai and the Watcher. Am I right? Maokai actually gives you some turns. Yeah, but you know what this does? This may force them to play the Hush this turn. If that happens, that gives them room.
Yeah, we definitely have.
Because right now we're looking at for sure. Like they have two challengers, so they can challenge away. Like if they play something like the Fangs, they can just bring that up.
Yeah,
to
we
the
have
side
1
and
HP here if we just play
Fangs. They
Fangs.
may be forced to go for the Hush here. And if they do that, then all of a sudden they can develop a blocker, and there's nothing. Well, yeah, there's nothing they can do in that sense. So they're gonna go with there's an Equinox there with the Fangs. You go for the open attack. This is definitely the turn to force that Hush out of them. If they do not force the Hush out of them, they're dead. It comes out of that. Like it's actually really intense. This is the turn, and I really like Belgium just committing to this.
And the Equinox is good, but the open attack's gonna happen now before it can be played for slow speed. So just gonna be focusing on maybe the next attack token turn, just for 1 mana clean answer to the Terror of the Tide, which will not be dying obviously in this combat trade. It has 8 HP, so the Blue Sentinels cannot do anything about it.
Wait, 16.
They don't want to let them ramp. They don't want to let them ramp.
Yeah. No. I'm just thinking. Were there any threats of? No, there weren't. Yeah, they get the Hush out of them because they're worried about an Atrocity as well in response.
No, we weren't worried about
So
Atro
the
at
Hush
all.
is out.
We
The
didn't
Hush
care
is
about
out. I
Atro.
repeat, the Hush is out, and now this
Because they
Great
tossed
Beyond will
Atro.
be able to be blocked by the Abyssal
We know they
Eye,
don't
and
have
that,
Atro.
That means everything.
And because you can only play the Great Beyond here, nothing else. There's really, and just for two spell mana, there's not really much you can do. Like you said, there's no other Hush top deck possibility even. It's gonna be a very clean answer here for 4 mana. Sacrifice the Abyssal Eye, and yeah, next turn with no Hush on Terror and a full.
Oh wait! I forgot about the Equinox. Oh, I forgot. Oh.
That's gonna be it.
Oh, that's it. I can't believe I forgot about that card. I was so focused on Hush.
Unless a Bone Skewer is drawn.
No, because they need. I mean, they need to. They have Spell Shield.
So yeah, you would need. Yeah, never mind. And they have to have already
it's
a target,
over.
and yeah, it's over. 100%.
Over. Oh wow! I can't. I was so focused on the Hush that I forgot about the Equinox they made earlier with the Fangs.
And that was the reason for it. They couldn't stop the Terror of the Tides on the attack token turn, but they knew that if they committed the Hush the last turn, they needed to have a way to silence an Abyssal Eye if it was played in response to Great Beyond.
And like you said, they needed the ramp anyways. They needed to Hush the ramp regardless. Yeah, that's a wrap. Wow. Yeah, they're gonna sneak in. This Atrocity just does it.
Yeah, so if they get Bone Skewer, we need to pay them.
There's a Bone Skewer.
Oh god, not like this. Oh my lord. I mean, to be fair, no. They have Tail Casket, but it would not be enough. Oh man.
There's an attack debuff as well, but it's not enough to really matter for the Great Beyond.
Shishu right there, just like chilling. We got this.
They know that in the deck there's really no chance for anything to happen. You would need, I suppose, a double Bone Skewer, but yeah, not gonna. You can lifesteal to 7.
Wait!
But the Pale Cascade in response will still steal it here.
God. I can't believe this. That was so tight. They still
What
get exactly
a back and forth over the last 2 turns. We got debated, I think, 7 different times, Mogwai.
Yeah, we were okay. We were definitely a bit too slow this one.
George Blade consider 4 doesn't have your sum.
Answers with dragons.
I mean, Demacia mid range. That's exactly what you want to see if you're Ezreal Draven. This is a really solid match.
Yes, you're right. I'm wrong.
Poland is going to have to. I mean, it's not.
We should have bluffed with
for
both.
Poland, but they
Because
do
we were
struggle
thinking
on
about
units
Bone
like
Skewer,
Swords of the Rose, because the
big
Demacians
problem
are
on
really
open
got
attack and
attacks,
Atro,
you know,
and that could have solved it. Yeah, you're right.
Or Noxus, they can't really deal with units like Thorns. You definitely do not expect them. I would be shocked. They might Thorns of Rose, really? Okay. I'm not gonna say anything there, but I mean they do have a favorable mulligan here as they find double Ravenous Flock, which is perhaps one of the better cards in the deck, and they are
Wait,
able to
hold
play
up.
their ballistic.
Does he lose the aura? Does he lose the Fearsome? You have to hush both of them, no? He doesn't lose the Fearsome. Yeah, he doesn't lose the Fearsome. It's not aura. He loses it? Does he have aura? Okay.
Here on curve.
Then
as
it was a
well.
misplay. You're right.
But we see Belgium not playing them on curve because they do want to.
See, that's why we watched this. I would have never remembered about this, and I would not consider this a misplay. You are right, chat. We should have blocked with buff.
Or something with thermogenic beam. So this is the turn in which they can develop the ballistic bot, and they still have a 4-power thermogenic beam.
And there is the Tri-Beam drawn as well for Belgium, one of the most explosive cards in the deck. If drawn early, can really swing games in your favor. Maybe it's a win more card in many cases, but in other cases, it can really just out-tempo your opponent when he's flooding the board with units. The 2-for-1 trade can be huge in the mid to late game.
By the way, I want to go back on what I said there. You never play ballistic bot there on curve because there's a threat of Dragon Guard Lieutenant. You can't. You actually lose your 2-drop to that. So in this matchup, you should not be playing your ballistic bot on curve. Your opponent has the attack.
Hold on. Okay, we're gonna
on
check.
turn 2 or even.
You're getting
So the hush is out. The hush is.
Yeah, it wasn't
It's actually
Fearsome,
really
you're right. So it's between, do we want to bluff Sharpsight or not? This was the only call. I'm like, their best play on turn 3 was bot. That means they don't, like, it's most likely Dredger. This turn. Because, like, they were really, like, careful about not losing the bot. For the Dragon Guard, and then their best play on turn 3 was bot, so they really wanted to keep it. That was our call. So like, okay, they have Dredger or Super Bricked Hand, and yeah, we go from there.
Strike a bit. Losing Shyvana to a Calling Strike feels really bad. This is my preferred line of play. I like Mountain going into Spacey Sketcher. This forces them to play the Ignition instead of discarding it with their some Dredger in order to be able to block with that. Because if they play some Dredger, that's not something that you're going to be able to block into. Keep in mind that every ounce of damage that Poland is able to sink in here will, like I said, be permanent because this deck lacks healing. And they're going with the Solari Priestess attack
this is just
as
a bluff.
well. Perhaps bluffing a Sharpsight.
Yeah.
Well, opting not to now, and I think that pause there, maybe, that might be a mind game from
It's a
Poland.
mind game. It's like, hey, we have it. But we'd rather preserve it for the Calling Strike. But Belgium doesn't care. Belgium is just like, I don't care. We're going to kill this. We need to get value out of these cards. We need to pump up our Tri-Beam and Propulator. We want to set up a 3-mana Thermogenic Beam potentially as well. And we're going for it.
And Alan is someone that on ladder even, he has stated many times that he really values mind games, especially when he's playing on ladder at very high master rank where he's playing a lot of the same players many times. He does certain things a certain way, and then he knows how this player reacts specifically, that exact player on ladder. And in a team setting where you're playing against a team maybe 2 times, and you see the matches on stream as well, you can really read into this a lot more and how teams react to certain kind of like psychological inputs in game, and that could be one of them. So choking the game is not just the current cards being played, but just the mind games being played as well between these 2 teams.
Oh, for sure. And in a card game where there's so much, variance in the form of matchups and draws, like anything that can give you a slight edge is definitely worth exploring. And I do know that Alan is prone to these tactics, and I believe it didn't really work out here. Like we saw like no hesitation there whatsoever for Belgium, but it could have definitely, if it didn't work out, he would have looked like a
Why
genius,
did we
right?
bring Dragons?
Definitely a nice little tactic right there, going with the Solari Priestess and be like, I'm going to attack. No, I'm going to preserve the Sharpsight for when they Calling Strike.
We were sure they're gonna bring Dragons, and we needed a deck that does well into Dragons and as Draven. And because we brought 3 decks that does,
which I think really helped them.
like, we basically needed a deck that can beat as Draven,
If they would have had a Sun Dredger, if they would have had
that we're gonna be able to queue up, and we won't be afraid of opponent's Dragons.
But in this case, their hand is a bit awkward. They have Ravenous Flocks, but no Sentry. They have a Farron that you don't want until late game. They have the Beam that you want to obviously charge it up a bit more. So it led to that play, I think, a bit easier for Belgium.
Gonna lead off with the open attack with the ballistic bot to more than anything pass over the ball to Poland's court and see what they do. as we see a jump block here from the Spacey Sketcher, which is interesting because it doesn't really enable anything like that meteor shower or nothing like that. I guess you want to take that body off the board to slow down a potential Ezreal level up. France got a win, Panda. France
got a game win. Let's not get ahead of.
So the block here enables us to attack with the Solari Priestess and doesn't allow opponent to block with the bot. So we can push the damage with the Solari Priestess this way.
Battle against Poland and Belgium here.
Got the Charger, the Trickster, and another Moon Silver. You could double up on these Moon Silvers to get some Omai Womoshin Daru tempo plays going on here, but I'm not sure if that's ultimately worth it as you do deplete the value of your hand overall.
We don't need more
But
units.
we'll see. No, they have to go with the Trickster. Gonna get some elusive potential there. Down goes
So
the
here-
second Culling Strike. Trying to get trying to play these out as early as possible.
So like based on how the game played out, we were sure that opponent had a third one.
And you kind of say, okay,
That they have third one.
but kind of unlikely.
Because the way they played the first one and this one, it's like they can't do anything with them, and we are like, yeah, they just bricked with triple Culling Strike at this point.
From this point onward, it's looking
And
really
we played
solid for Belgium.
onward thinking they have
That Trident
triple.
even Private Leader right now is sitting at 3. They could, yeah, they're gonna go for the ignitions. As long as you have nothing else to do, just keep pumping up this ballistic bot. And yeah, just pass over here.
And of course, Ezreal Draven, a deck that can sometimes be very aggressive in its kind of its early game. I think maybe not so much now with Ballistic Bot kind of overtaking House Spider in some versions of the deck, creating for a more stable mid game. But in this match specifically, the goal is just to control the board and make sure to really just not have anything get out of hand from Team Poland here.
I mean, I do believe
Yes,
the vast
Mara,
majority
they
of Ezreal Draven decks at this point play Ballistic Bot. The synergy is too strong. Like the ability to set up, they even play like Rummage as a one-up, but more than anything, setting up that free draw for some Dredger is really neat. And it is a slow burn deck at the end of the day. And there's a lot of matchups in which you actually resort to Ballistic Box to slowly but surely take down your opponent. There is the Moon
So
Sisters.
now
I
we
think
are
Trickster
certain they have a Tribeam or 2 in hand. By them forced to jump the Ezreal.
It is true that we have pointed out that they haven't revealed Sharp Sight, right? So maybe when Belgium attacks next turn, they do opt to go with the attack with Ezreal.
And this is part of the mind game again. There's double attack with the priestesses. They say, okay, we didn't have the sharp sight the last 2 times, but now we top deck it, and that's what we're attacking here. So it really is just what they do. In 2 turns ago, now it's going to be the opposite. So the mind games are constantly there for both of these teams. And there is Ezreal. If he commits to this block here,
Because they want to enable the Ravenous Flock. They want to promote Ezreal's
They
level
want
up
no,
and,
they don't want to flog
yeah,
the
this is an interesting
priestess.
block though. It's very risky. I don't know if you need to rush into your Ravenous Flocks anyways, because eventually you'll find your Arachnoid Sentries, your Static Shocks, and these Ravenous Flocks represent a lot of value. I wonder what they were playing around by not going for the Sharp Sight there. Maybe they're
So
trying
this
to bait
block-
that Ezreal attack.
So this block told us that even like, yeah, if they block with Ezreal here, they must have another Culling Strike. That was a good play for them. And maybe they were convinced we don't have Sharp Sight still. But yeah, I'm not sure. Without Static Shock in hand, this block is weird.
Turn. But I mean, you had the exchange there anyways. I'm not sure what they were worried about.
especially considering that, it might level up. I think it's still pretty far away, but then it gets the extra health, it becomes a bit more sticky. So when you have the commitment there to just go for it, I'm also not entirely sure what the case is. But like you mentioned, these players are playing at a very, very high level, and they're possibly thinking about, things happening 3 or 4 turns ahead of where we are right now. And if there's anyone that I wouldn't doubt into why they're doing things, it is Poland, and it is, this team with Alanzq and Chocopass.
Belgium has the potential to go Mystic Shot onto one of the
Why
priestesses
didn't
and
we
then follow it
Sharp
up with a
Because
Thermogenic
of the
Beam.
Culling
Thermogenic
Strike.
Beam at 3 value. Oh, they're going to go. I'm not sure I like this.
We want to bait out
I
the
guess,
Tri-Beam
wow,
here.
Poland is really baiting here.
We wanted to get as early as we can the Tri-Beam here. And this Tri-Beam, we knew they have 1 or 2 Tri-Beams because they played this, and we were aware this is 4 damage. And we have we don't want to the 3 sisters to let's say eat the Tri-Beam, yeah. So we really wanted this to get just the Tri-Beamed.
With this line of play, okay, so let's talk about this for a second. Because they did not go for that Sharp Sight in the exchange, they are tricking Belgium into thinking that they do not have the Sharp Sight, which makes Belgium think we need to get this Ezreal value now that they don't have the card. So it kind of lured them into preemptively playing a Thermogenic Beam, and probably later, that can be much more valuable later down the line. And this Ezreal will be taken down now by surprise, and it is not a top deck. This is low-key genius.
And
Not
how to
only, Wow.
You have golden scissors as well to play after the attack here. If open attack is not done, to have an elusive blocker and the lifesteal as well from the 6 mana drop.
Wow. I am shocked. Like this is brilliant. This is absolutely brilliant.
I'm not surprised. I mean, this is a matchup. It's the game of the day for a reason. I think both of these teams are at, you know, another level when it comes to kind of mind games and stuff. I've seen it from Alan on stream in many occasions. He definitely thinks outside the box and really adds a lot more kind of just outside input into games, not just the cards we play themselves.
This looks like it. The problem is, like, if this was a 2-attack unit, yeah, we would have one for the sharp side. But this is the point where the hand reading comes, and we were just convinced they have they bricked with triple culling strike. That's why they played the way they played, like, so far.
That you can possibly gather from the way the cards are played, the timing even at which you play a card. I think we've even seen matches that depending on how long players take to pick the invoke card, teams can kind of, I think it was mentioned by Team France at some point that they made a certain play because they thought that the pick was too quick. So I mean, really, all these players are constantly feeding off of any kind of extra information.
That's amazing. Wait. They're letting. Wait, what? Wait, no, I don't understand. Why are they letting? Because they're setting up a meteor shower, but they're giving him no target. So I guess this works out as well. What are they preserving this sharp side for then? I mean, they still got the improbulator out of them. Yeah, I mean, you go for the meteor shower now, but I wonder if it was. I guess they want to remove this ballistic bot out of the equation as well here. That's still crazy. That's still crazy that they got that. I think I would never play an improbulator early. Improbulator is like the strongest card in this matchup.
Yeah, the fact that there's going to be big units like Eclipse Dragon that you need to, because many matchups, once you go past like 4 or 5, there's really no point because the damage is going to be, you know, unnecessary. But in this case, there are units with very high health totals, and you need to be able to get that clean 2-for-1 trade, especially when sharp side added to the mix where it adds a +2 as well.
Poland is making me like. There's like normally I feel like I can follow up the plays, but there's a lot of decision making going through Poland that I don't fully understand.
Mogwai, we're the casters, they're the players for a reason, and I think if, you know, many tournaments, I think we can both say we can very cleanly follow everything, but this is, I think, the stage where these players really can show the gap, I guess, between casters and players, and between these players and any other players in the world. Even if you're a Masters player, this is really the next level, I think.
But by allowing this Ezreal to connect, like they gave him an extra Mystic shot that allowed him to pick up the Shyvana. So I wonder what they're preserving that sharp side for specifically. I guess they value it like later in the game, but they've already seen like 2 copies of Culling Strike, so it's not something you should be playing around at this point. So like I said, interesting. I'd love to pick their brain after this and ask them like, what their reasoning was. But they do definitely pick off. They managed to pick off the Ezreal, and right now Ezreal Draven, like this deck is running a little bit out of gas. They have Captain Farron, but this is the deep waters, man. Like this is the point in the match where this Demacia-based list just starts getting nutty value. Like their cards represent a lot.
And Captain Farron, because you have also pretty beefy bodies that you can trade with, maybe not one clean trade, but, you know, over 2 different blocks, you can kill Captain Farron easily. And because you have lifesteal, like Star Shaping and the Golden Stitch that we see there in hand, you're not too worried about decimates either. So against some matchups, Farron can be kind of the win button. You just play him, and then there's not really a clean answer. But with the Dragons, not so much the case. There's going to be even invoke removal spells that can deal with him as well, and then the heal to counteract the decimates. Now
they can moonlight into a surprise Screeching Dragon here. They could do that. Otherwise, I'm not sure why they decided to drop this. Yeah, that's why. But this Captain Farron definitely halts them down. I guess they may want to preserve this Eclipse Dragon to just trigger the Nightfall. Like maybe that's why they're keeping the sharp side as a potential proc. Because normally you want to play Eclipse Dragon on curve to enable a fast a ramp Thoroughly Soul, but here I think you just go for the value. You try to drown Ezreal Draven in value. You have sharp sight to counter these decimates, so you're not worried about this Captain Farron win condition, and you pick off their ballistic bot there.
It's gonna be a big open attack next turn though, with that kill on Screeching Dragon there, and only 1 blocker in Shyvana with only 4 health.
There's another probably right there. Yeah, this Farron is really powerful. There's a lot of damage.
You're just missing fast speed interaction here that really matters. You don't have a still in combat. If you had it, you could have, you know, put a sharp sight on Shyvana, still in combat the guy on Rider to deal with that damage, and then
we were missing
and almost kill it. But in this case, it's a lot more awkward. You have to hush the Farron, Shyvana still dies, and you still get damage before on the side. So we talked about there being answers for Farron and it not being so bad into this deck, but because of the tempo disadvantage coming to turn 7 or turn 8 rather, the last turn, and they were already kind of behind with what they were trying to do, and then the clean removal with Flock as well on the Screeching Dragon, it made it so they were coming into this turn already at a disadvantage, and they didn't have a clean answer to really deal with it.
So if you're Poland here, you could just play the Eclipse Dragon just to generate more value out of it. Since you can't play the sisters, with the sharp sight backup anyways, and you don't need to go for sharp sight right now. Sorry, for the star shaping right now, because you're not worried about getting lethal here. Yeah, I like this Eclipse Dragon.
I mean, those
are some beefy results.
man, we load all those.
A Mystic Shot into a Decimate win attempt here.
It's going to be a beam and stagger to control the board. Farron, of course, has been hushed, but it's a one-round thing. He comes back with Overwhelm on the next attack token turn. He still has to be dealt with. There's only 10 mana up for Poland. They can play both the Golden Sister and the Star Shaping because, actually, yeah, they're exactly at 8 HP. Double Decimate can be played for 10 mana.
Yeah, but because they play the Golden Sister, they can attack and counter it with the Lifesteal, and they can attack and surprise Star Shaping into a Captain Farron block that will allow them to knock it out and remove that very threatening attacker next time around. So I like the sharp sight. Did I say
Star Shaping?
I'm mixing the two.
I think everyone understood you in the context of
this. I mean, now this sharp sight that they've been holding on for this entire game. Like at this point, Belgium is be like they don't have it.
The sharp sight started off at the very right of the hand. It slowly moved, point by point. It's gonna be on the left once the Star Shaping is played, if it is played, but not this turn, of course. 4 mana up, and only the sharp sight can be played here.
This forces them to attack.
Yeah.
Forces them to attack, and I think at this point, yeah, they don't block with Farron. That's smart. That's smart. They still respect the possibility.
Of course, you do sharp sight anyway. I think we might see. Is it a 1 damage thermo beam here? We might see it played.
Could be.
There could be a second sharp sight, of course. But how the game has gone, I think Belgium will think that's very unlikely.
They keep sentry for the offense.
Yeah, that you have to count that out, right?
It's a 1 damage improbably. It might be the first time in Runeterra history to see 4 mana, 1 damage, 1 mana unit spawn on your side.
I think
they might have read that we have Star Shaping.
They're passing. They're building it up.
We discarded one.
They're thinking about the late game, but look at the hand for Poland. Immortal Fire, Big Dragon, and Aurelian Soul.
Everything's clunky. Like you have to, in a way, the moment you drop something big and you can't Star Shaping, you open yourself wide up for and that Arachnoid Sentry can be. I'm not sure I like this Arachnoid Sentry because you have so many. You have the Nox and Guillotine for that. I guess let's see. Because now dropping this Arachnoid Sentry means
there is no option here to do anything
you can't
else.
Really.
Isol is the only play.
You can't stun something bigger going down, and 2 of the cards in hand were Celestials and Dragons generated by the Eclipse Dragon. So more or less, you have more or less an idea of what half of their hand could be like, right? Or 40%. So we'll see if this Arachnoid Sentry was a little bit preemptive, especially considering they have that Nox and Guillotine. But that Nox and Guillotine does represent a lot of value later. The thing is, the longer this match goes, the better it looks for Poland.
We'll see the Dragon Guard Lieutenant is played. If it is, that gives Belgium the chance to actually have the Culling Strike, and that gives them the chance for a 3 damage.
We knew they had Culling Strike.
It would be.
Remember, chat, we still had a read. They had the Culling Strike. So playing this into Culling Strike was just dump. Straight up. Like, this is not doing anything here.
You can't play Guillotine. They take the Aurelian Soul instead. They get the Invoke that the Cosmic Inspiration comes in as a late game 7 mana buff everything in your deck. And they dodge the bullet there.
Okay, so here's the thing. This Nox and Guillotine can be enabled. The problem
can't
is
play
they
9-drop.
they have a total of 10 mana.
The reason why you can't play 9-drop because opponent can have second. Oh, we lose to second sentry anyway. Yeah.
But they can go for the.
But again, there is no point. Like, this saves you more HP. This is 9-6 only. You take 2 more damage.
The Improbulator to 3. They can go for the Improbulator.
A drop takes more damage as well.
Important because you want to do this afterwards. So the fact that it's stunned is actually very relevant. But they're gonna go for it first. This gives them the information that they can kill Aurelian Soul.
We know that they have tried before free now.
Aurelian Soul no matter what.
Because
it doesn't matter what information you have here. You have to block.
And you have now the biggest thing is the Guillotine now is another counter for the Improbulator. Now you can cleanly kill the Silver Sister. There is 2 mana that could be a sharp sight, but maybe unlikely at this point in the game and the way the game is played out until now. If you do get, depending on the 3-drop you get, could be a Solitary Monk, which would be a problem, but we'll find out in just a second.
Monk would be actually
they're going for it. They're
not good for us.
You have to. It's a block that you can remove and get a 2-for-1.
Monk would be actually bad for us.
We're counting on no health gain. That's the thing. Oh no!
Yeah, they low roll.
Not the one you want.
We are happy about that one.
If you attack now, Aesol has a spell shield.
Yeah. Yeah, this feels.
But you push 4 damage. And with a decimated hand, that might be important, but the Star Shaping is there to counter. So is this the point now where Belgium loses control of the game?
It seems because they committed that Improbulator and they're getting outvalued here.
That was the last push. They needed to hope for something with 3 attack to get them down to 4, and then to Decimate not to have an answer with
They get to pop the spell shield.
Yeah, I mean, you might as well at this point. You're going to have mana to do everything next turn. I guess it depends on when you top deck, but in most cases. And the Cooling Strike is kind of dead at this point in the game.
My, how they stare.
Yeah, some treasure's not amazing here. This is rough. I mean, they can discard the Cooling Strike, which is pretty useless here, right? But there's just so much power waiting in Poland's hand right now. They have this. Yeah, they can even go for the Cosmic Inspiration and just completely overwhelm them.
If you ask someone, on turn 10, what hand do you prefer? I think it's a pretty unanimous answer. All the big boys and big spells in hand there for Team Poland. You have the star shaping to kind of shore up your weakness right now.
Hey, Schwarzer, thank you for 13 months, man.
Everything else is in their
Welcome
favor.
back.
They have the Dragon Armor 10. This now gives the option for the Clone Strike to come in. There is no Sharp Set in hand. Can't be countered. Not going to take the chances even. I think it's maybe too risky for Belgium. They decide to cycle it instead.
Like, we just wanted to get away. Like, okay, so the reason why we played we knew that they have Culling Strike, but it's better to bait out it right away here, because if they can't play really Ezreal first, because if we have Sharp Sight, they just lose the game. They have to play Culling Strike first, and this way we can negate the. We didn't have anything else to play. We had to do this. We wanted to do double Oblit this turn, yeah, so we don't lose to Scorched Turf this turn, in case they top deck Scorched Turf now, or Guillotine. And this way, we are not weak to the Ezreal by playing this.
You take this hit from Merlin, so no, never mind. You can't tackle the Merlin, so what I'm talking about. You try to go as wide as you can here.
If they play the Thorn of the Rose here, it leaves them with only 4 mana, and we give the green light for Alan and for Team Poland to commit one of the bigger units, knowing they can't be burst down. So they're not, and because they're so low in card advantage right now in hand, they don't need to rush and use their mana effectively, because so much of it will be burned in the next 2 or 3 turns if we get that far.
No, they don't
It's a very
Mystic,
scary
guys.
hand, but there's only one card that can be played in risk.
If you are Belgium and you play and you Mystic Shot this instead of Face, I don't know what kind of game you are playing. You always Mystic Shot Face and Decimate Face.
Response to an open attack for Poland. They just go for the Supernova.
It's fine because they won't die to Decimate, and they know, well, I mean, unless there's a Mystic Shot in hand, that would be a problem, but...
This forces them to block with a really solo here, but they do have another one in hand. They pick up a Knock that's not really very impactful.
Because we need to get rid of... this gets rid of blockers, and we have a next attack token, we should be having lethal anyway.
They find the Some Treasure, which can cycle this Guile, and they find a Static Shock. They need to find Ezreal.
Static Shock, of course, can add 1 more damage to the Nexus, getting their total burn to 5. But there is a Star Shaping in hand, which makes things quite problematic for Belgium trying to close out this game. And they're obviously now 1-0 down in the series, so this is kind of the match point here. If Poland's able to stabilize, take control with this late game hand they have, and win it, they could just win 2-0 against the group leader.
Because we knew they have to queue up with the
Dragon.
S-Draven coin flip, and we made our dragons good into S-Draven.
That Star Shaping is pretty backbreaking.
Because they couldn't kill with anything but S-Draven.
Reason to run this variant of the Demacia mid-range over the one that, funnily, Ultraman from Belgium popularized.
No, the Calling Strike
ran
read
one
was
copy of Zoe and 2 copies of Brilliant Soul. Poland's version is arguably greedier, but this is the environment in which it excels. And in this matchup, it definitely does help out, because having access to Star Shaping really does.
Because Ashe LeBlanc is worse into some matchup. as Teemo is autoing into every matchup, basically. Ashe LeBlanc isn't. So basically, Ashe LeBlanc, you have to settle at mediocre draws, because you can't full mulligan hoping to get best possible draw. And Teemo as allows you to full mulligan just for fun in every other matchup. You can full mulligan for the one card that auto wins you every matchup if you draw it on free. Where Ashe LeBlanc has to settle at mediocre draws, draw mediocre reactive cards in their certain spots, which doesn't win you. as Teemo is just better in every aspect against all the matchups.
They're going to block with Aurelion Soul, fearing something like a Nox and Guillotine or a Ravenous Lock, dealing with that anyways. They go for the Star Shaping, going up to 11.
Off stream, Sweden has gotten the win in that game against France. 1-1 in that series.
Yeah,
last
so
game
really
decides France's fate in this tournament.
Like, this is at 13, and I think we had Equinox, so we could push it to 14. So we were one off if we selected the Great Beyond here.
tournament. They could be knocked out, mathematically knocked out, if they do end up losing that game 3 to Sweden. Looking at the choices here, Cause of
But we still
Inspiration,
go
the
for
Great
it, I
Beyond, and Lord
believe.
Fire. At this point, does it matter? Mogwai, what you pick? You have so many options in hand already. I don't think you're gonna get to the point where you pick one of these cards specifically, but we'll see if they think one of them is more optimal than all the rest in their hand, and that could be the case.
I mean, I think Immortal. Well, they already have Immortal Fire, so never mind. They already have it.
You don't need to. Yeah, you don't need to get repeats, Mogwai.
There's a Farron.
The
There's a
Farron is there, but is it too late?
I mean, is it? Like, that's the thing. Like, they're at 15. They are at 15, and they just found the Captain Farron, and there's no more healing.
Yeah,
for
we are
Poland.
one
They
of
draw
lethal.
into a lieutenant, so they can have.
To honor the fallen.
Is there anything they can develop for 8 mana? No, they can play the Phoenix, but that's it.
They can play
Like, you play
Phoenix
Farron,
here.
dude. They can have him. They
The
can have him.
Equinox will come in. Phoenix is at 11.
11 is
attack.
not enough. Like, right now, they need to top deck a source of healing. Otherwise, this Captain Farron top deck could get the game for Belgium. That would be crazy.
And because they'll be on defense, even top decking a lifesteal unit, if they don't, they can't top deck obviously a
I
lifesteal
was
unit and
laughing.
strike effect, they
Okay,
won't
chat,
do
you
anything.
don't understand. I was laughing at the Static Shock because they literally grieve the game by not playing Static Shock before attack. Because they just can win the game if they top deck Ezreal there. And there are like so many, like they can top deck Sentry, Ezreal, Thorns. They have so many winning cards before attack to just win the game. And they just played it after the combat. Yeah, we don't play Spell Thief Hollow, that's why there
Either,
was no point
because
doing
obviously
that.
once the Equinox comes in on Farron, you don't even attack next turn if you're Belgium. So yeah, it's gonna be come down to
Star Shaping.
Star
That is
Shaping.
the only card that does it. Star Shaping. If they do not top deck Star Shaping,
Yeah, we don't
Belgium
have any more
will
Star
win this
Shapings in the
game.
deck.
Wow. Oh, that is like the most clutch.
No,
Oh,
you
man.
don't Equinox.
We've seen it with experimenters in the
Equinox
first
is one
series
of
in this
lethal.
tournament, and we see it now with Farron back to back, or not back to back, but 2 different Farrons played in a game, even with answers like this. Dragon
Oh,
deck
you
does
mean
have
here?
sometimes,
It's
full
it's
decimates
irrelevant.
can
Yeah,
be
yeah, yeah.
a bit
Order
too
is
much
incorrect.
to out-heal even
But
if
it
you're
doesn't
targeting.
matter. We
And
know
it
we
could be the
lost.
case in this one.
Like it was over. Like we had to just
stabilize
count on
against-
misplaying.
The problem is all of their plays were
We had to just hope they're gonna misplay and they're gonna play around third Star Shaping. That was our only hope. We we were like this is like turn late draw as well.
I think you want to cue that into Jarvan Shen.
We had only two
because
choices.
you just kind of like outmuscle that deck.
We either go Ash LeBlanc and Teemo. Teemo is just more consistent, so yeah, pretty straightforward. They choose their worst possible deck for themselves. I don't know what they were expecting.
Potentially, if you're able to survive, your late game invokes will just be too much for them, I feel. And I'm not sure. I mean, I think the matchup against Overwhelm should also be pretty decent. There's a reason why they brought that deck, right? But I want to see Deep from Belgium.
I think
Yeah,
a lot
they
of
couldn't
A lot of these
pick
decks
Overwhelm.
have not necessarily like polarized win rates, not like a 70-30. That's more the case of like aggro and like very
That's
specific
great.
control decks. But with mid range, it's a lot closer. It comes down to maybe even how the decks are built, because you can play dragons. We're seeing there dragons that we saw now was a greedier, it was more late game. Dragon with Zoe that might be a bit more in the middle. So it really depends. Without looking at deck list
Deep
of
was-
this day 4, it really is hard to say
I don't
exactly
think about
how
Deep,
the
but
matchups
that
go.
was good.
Deep
Oh!
is coming back for Belgium, and Teemo,
Teemo, I
Ezreal,
love
2
it.
decks, 2 underperformers.
I
that
love it.
Look good on paper, but have not looked good in action. And now we'll see, which deck will be
No, Deep against Sash is
which deck
not
will be the
good.
number 1 underperformer in the tournament.
I mean,
and will
okay,
never get picked
hold
again
on.
if it loses here. I think that's the outcome of this.
I mean, Deep against. No, it's not good. Like you lose to Reckoning, you lose to you even lose now. You lose to the Culling Strike. That's so bad. Okay,
Old
so
man and his mushroom.
the reason why they thought that Deep is good into Zoe Vi because in the first version of our Zoe Vi, we didn't run Solari Priestess. Therefore, it's actually doesn't like if they high roll into Nautilus, we actually can't go fast enough. So this time we just brought Solari Priestess, so we can actually just outvalue them. Yeah. And we didn't mind the Deep.
Who will win in a fight? We'll find out.
Well, with the Puffcat Peddler draw there, that's already a very good start. Or Mulligan, finding there in the draw is a very good start for
Man,
the Peddler
look at
deck.
that!
Having said, you maybe
Maokai
need
every time!
a bit
One
more,
off.
Protection. Maybe against Deep specifically, not so much, because until Devour comes down, there's not that much, instant removal.
There are
One of
no
the very
underdog teams.
bizarre aspects of this matchup
I
is
don't,
that you actually
accept
don't
the
want
term
Puffcat
underdog
Peddler
in
in
the
your
card
opener.
game.
You saw how they mulligan there? You want, when you want Puffcat Peddler?
Why not
when
keep
they've gone
Peddler on
deep,
opening?
when they
Because you mill your opponent. You want the best opener is triple Foundry. What do you need Peddler for? Like best opener is triple Foundry and Teemo into top deck Elixir. That's your best opener.
they have depleted their deck and they have like between 10 and 15 cards left, that's when you start playing all these mushrooms, and they actually every single draw leads to insane damage output. Like you can just one-shot them potentially by just going turbo mushrooms on them, and because early on, as you're tossing cards, you could be tossing away cards that have mushrooms in them. So this matchup is actually one of the most unique matchups in the game. And we saw there that, first of all, Belgium mulling away 2 copies of Yedison, which, I mean, is not as crazy because you want to find your curve anyways. But the fact that Poland mulling away the Puffcat Peddler is something that you never see.
Yeah. I was surprised, but I think, yeah, your reasoning does make sense. I know you don't have that much experience in this exact matchup, and because both decks play kind of differently to the norm of what Runeterra is as a card game, you know, they have very different win conditions in some cases. You do have to kind of think outside the box and really not just go,
So
you know,
here,
how you would normally play this matchup.
the way we could have lost this, if they go deep too early and they have like double Devour hand, basically. We had to just prevent them going a deep too fast. And yeah, just preventing this one Sea Scarab, like we just couldn't let them be deep at turn 5. If they are deep turn 6, we win. The deep turn 5 could be sketchy. So that's why Beam here is Scarab. And then we just let them toss, because it's fine later on.
With Peddler obviously always being kept in hand.
I just like, the only downside to this is that I have to talk while this matchup goes, because I just want to observe and see how these guys pilot this.
Maokai, I'm just gonna, you know, quickly note the fact that Maokai's in hand. Maokai can level up, and if that occurs with Hexcore Foundries on the board, we could see Poland mill themselves as well, and finally Maokai would be in actual win condition, unlike, you know, the watch.
He will do something. Yeah. Maokai will. Oh my god. Also, like, that's a very excellent reason to not play Maokai here on curve. You want to preserve him in hand. Yeah, you slow down the tossing a little bit and his level up as well, because you don't have him as an engine. But what a scary win con. So I think it's basically late game Maokai versus late game Puffcat Peddler here. A battle of the ages. Down goes the Lure of the Depths for Belgium.
And Lure of the Depths, of course, a great card overall, but looking at the hand with 3 Devourers and
yeah,
the
now
drawn there, the value is already there.
that we know they are not deep turn 5, we know that game is them back. It's basically over. If they are not attacking fast for million on the turn 5, this is one. Like the fact that we drew Foundry and the Archer is just nuts. Like this is the best turn we could have asked for as well. So yeah.
It's going to be, you know, so great to have all these ways to answer Peddlers, answer Ezreals later on in the game.
So all we have to do is just wait
Maokai
with Archer for the Scarab. We are
The
pretty
question
sure
is
they
how
have
many
Scarab
Maokais are
or
they playing? Because
Dredger
they're
here.
Maokai quite consistently for, you know, what is believed to be a one-off. They have more copies of it.
Yeah, I think it's one of you wouldn't play it here. I think it's maybe too big of a possible win condition to really risk it. But playing it here, I think, like you said, it's great value, of course, but also possibly just the fact that they have more in the deck.
They drag it out of there. I mean, it doesn't really make a difference, but I guess they want to have that sapling on the right. As we could see the Veteran Investigator trade into the Sea Scarab here.
Yeah, so here you can see the shift of the game plan. Because we didn't want them to be deep by turn 5, but now if they want to toss the cards, yes, please! Toss as much as you want! This is too late for you to go deep. This is the point where it's, yeah, no coming back. It is too late.
As we see with this tag, this is something that Belgium is willing to offer. They are keeping that Maokai in the back, though. They want to make it difficult. Wait, what?
Yeah, we were thinking about
They want him to
here.
toss. Oh my god, that's hilarious.
We are thinking about if they go if they go into the Jettison plus Devour next turn. If I play the Elixir here, because we wanted to kill this and preserve this, just to make them toss more. The problem is next turn we cannot keep our Peddler alive from the Devour plus Jettison. So we can't block here. We have to just take it all.
I actually want that Scarab to remain alive. They're thinking about it, because if they keep that Scarab tossing, they will deplete their deck, and then they can play that Peddler and they just go turbo on them. So what they need to find now is they need to find their chump ones, so they can save up all these mushrooms in hand. So for one turn, that would be so sick.
What chump ones? We don't run any chump ones.
Puffcat Peddler, unlike we've never seen that.
Yeah, they're really adapting to this exact matchup and making sure that they know that, okay, this is how we can get an advantage. And maybe Belgium, in the same way with Maokai being a win condition in this matchup, is also thinking, hey, we want them to, you know, to play Foundries on the board, and then we can play Maokai once he levels up and win the game there.
They're going to play the Peddler now because the Peddler is safe from pretty much any line of play. They can answer a a Lure of the Depths. No, sorry, a Devour of the Depths. They can answer that as they have they have access to Troll Chant. They have access to Twin Sisters or Three Sisters. I'm getting all the card names wrong. They have a plethora of answers to keep this.
Mix and match. Just mix and match all the card games. Create new cards, Mogwai. There's a Devour coming down. Like you mentioned, you're not deep yet. Even if you do go deep, you have both Troll Chant and Elixir of Iron to boost that up to 7. And with only 1 mana left on team, on Belgium's side of the board, or Belgium's team, it's yeah, there's no reaction here that can stop this.
Yeah, it is going to be Elixir. I love this one. I love the Puffcat Peddler. Man, he's dangerous. They've gone deep. This is very, very, very scary.
The Teemo coming in as well without a Vile Feast to answer, and obviously no elusive blockers means even more mushrooms going into the deck now.
I don't know what it is about the Puffcat Peddler, man. He may have experience when it comes to boats and stuff and fishing rods or whatever, because when he's facing deep, he goes Super Saiyan. He is so much stronger. It's actually wild how his power level spikes because of what Deep is doing, because Deep is tossing away cards. So the thinner the deck goes, the more devastating the Puffcaps will be.
And the Teemo attack was, of course, obvious here. There's no counter for 1 mana, or for 0 mana in this case, and no elusive blocker on the board. We'll see the draws here. 3 draws happening. How many mushrooms?
Yeah, it starts. It starts. Yeah, look at this. This is only the beginning. Like, it's gonna get crazy.
And the Vengeance gets burned there. Could have been used to maybe kill the Peddler without there being any way to save it, but it does get burned there.
There was the Entomb, but that would have kept the Peddler out of the equation for a couple of turns. So yeah, that's brutal. Because this Devour the Depths is just too expensive for that. They have to like hope for like a they're just dropping Maokai. Is that correct to drop Maokai? Because they are drawing like a lot per turn.
Yeah, Nautilus shuffled 3 cards.
They need to take out this Peddler. It's not gonna happen. They have so many ways to stop this. But I mean, it's very clear that you just go for the Three Sisters into a Fury of the North, and this is just like the easiest. They have all the answers in the book.
There will be a Vile Feast in this case, but it can be answered by Troll Chant as well, with still 3 mana up for Team Poland.
And Teemo has there's no answer for Teemo right now.
Abyssal Eye can't be played now anymore either. Still a 4 mana cost.
Yeah, so we just suck the damage from the unit that we don't want to block.
There's a Vile Feast draining 1. No Spiraling, of course. The board is completely packed and booked for Team Belgium. There's a Troll Chant.
They die. If they keep Maokai at board, they die from mill. They literally die before their next attack because of the mill.
And in response, the Peddler getting all the support that he desperately needs. Both times going to 7 and then to 9 HP from a 3 HP unit. So the protection is there, and both times to survive Devour the Depths, trying to consume his soul.
Man, this Peddler is just not going down, refusing to die.
It's auto win for us if we draw.
And this is just amazing. Like all they have to do now is they have to survive. That's a key thing.
No,
they have access to a.
They can't level up Maokai in time. They didn't toss almost at all. They played 1 toss, 1 proc. They would proc twice Maokai, so that's not even enough, and we are not killing anything. Maokai was like 15 off.
Brittle Steel that can be used on the Dread Dredgers. So they have to focus on blocking everything else. Unfortunately, they do have to block with the Peddler, but that
because we wanted to proc the Scarabs. They griefed by attacking with 2/1. You never attack with 2/1 because we can just trade here, even with the Brittle. This tosses 2. There is no reason to suck. Like, you want to proc toss. Like, opponent wants to toss, be my guest, toss more.
Peddler be thick AF, boy. Like he can trade with anything. Yeah, they're actually keeping that Dredger in the back. That's interesting. So this Brittle Steel, I mean, they could just go for the. Nah, yeah, this makes sense. Like, why not just go as wet as you can? Yeah, this is it. Like, they got to go in with everything, and Poland has to block with everything because they are super low. Do they play Atrocity? Because that's the only way. But I mean, yeah, they have Flash Freeze. So it doesn't matter.
There's going to be answers to Atrocity for sure. There's going to be answers. I mean, the biggest thing is now that this is the last attack turn that maybe Poland can survive. I mean, it's going to depend on the freezes they have and the Flash Freezes, especially for the bigger units. But they're taking 8 damage here. They're going in for just the full Mushroom game plan over the next 2 turns of draws. Teemo attacking next turn without there being an answer, unless a Bone Skewer is drawn. And the fact that Nautilus has not been played, you haven't repopulated your deck, and these Sea Scarabs are still tossing more and more cards.
Yeah, they're actually a liability. They are a big liability. Let's look at it. This is gonna hurt. This is gonna hurt.
Another Foundry and another Veteran Investigator as well. And 2 more Mushrooms to play here while the Peddler's still on the board.
they can do, which can be just duplicated. They also have access to the three sisters to potentially even pump up Teemo.
7 cards left. There's more puff gaps than card, and that number's gonna grow a lot more once we see both these mushrooms played and the Teemo attacking and doubling everything.
Teemo's having the time of his life, man. Yeah, look at that. Look at that. 7 cards left. 17
you
puff gaps
don't
does not seem like much, but
You don't play the 3 sisters in case of Atro here.
with 7 cards left in the deck, that is a bomb. That is a
And
nuke.
we can stay alive
now,
next turn.
oh my god, they can do
So
so
what
many things.
happens if they Atro here? So what happens if they Atro here? We can go either for lethal, we can go with this yet. But what we'd rather do, if they Atro here, they cannot develop more units this turn. So what we do, we just redevelop, we have blockers for days, and we have freezes for days. So we just survive their attack if they Atro the Teemo, and they somehow don't die.
You just play the
They're
Three
dead.
Sisters. You
They're
just play the
dead.
Three Sisters as like just a one mana card just to get the mushrooms in the deck, I think. But we'll see how exactly the mana is
34 and 7 cards.
9 HP.
They gotta toss these away. Like they gotta try to like just get rid of these.
Why not second?
There's an Nautilus top deck,
Literally
it's
just
actually pretty
explained.
massive.
I thought
He
Shucky
literally
left for a
said delay on
second
stream.
because he's like tilted. There you go. I'm like Shucky's out of here. Doesn't want to see this. It's
I
gonna
think
get ugly.
Nautilus has to come down just to repopulate the deck. Yeah.
Yeah,
Try and make the odds
they're
of
waiting for that. They're
a bit
waiting
more in
for that.
favor of Team Belgium. That means they have 0 mana now, so nothing else that Poland now has the ability to really decide what is the most effective way to add more
Yeah,
mushrooms
just-
into the deck before
Yeah, just
the
make them meal.
4 draws happen next turn with
It's
3
over.
founders on the board.
Yeah, just go for this, and then you just go for like a flash freeze or whatever. 4 cards left. Oh, come on! I want to see how many mushrooms they threw.
And that's gonna be a surrender from Team
Teemo won.
Belgium.
I'm gonna
Team
tell you,
won.
Mogwai,
the
all of them.
Won, and Deep is now
All
the
of
worst
them.
deck in this tournament.